Hey, everybody!
Hey, how you doing? I got a heavy night of movies. I got Live by Night and Patriots Day after this. They didn't, I gotta wait for Monster Trucks and Bye Bye Man for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think maybe you should have split those up. Unfortunately, you aren't able to, but maybe one heavy and one piece of shit each night.
You know what? Bye Bye Man actually is... It actually does have a Thursday screening. Monster Trucks doesn't, but Bye Bye Man does. The problem is they decided to put it at... Normally, screenings like this, one will be at like 7 and another might be at 10. What they did with Bye Bye Man was they put it at like 8. Which would mean that would be the only movie in a weekend that like 5 movies come out. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'll see Bye Bye Man the next day. Fuck you, Bye Bye Man. That's what he really does. He haunts you and then he fucks up your movie times. Stupid killer.
You're ruining my life!
But this is Ben Affleck's latest directorial film after Argo. It's not getting... From what I've seen, not getting the greatest reviews in the world, which is unfortunate because I don't want there to ever be a bad Ben Affleck directed movie. I've loved every single movie he's directed. Gone Baby Gone, The Town, Argo, easily 4-star movies in my book. But you know, they say like there's the line from Batman, he's human after all. But you know what? The thing of it is, I really liked this movie.
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much as Gone Baby Gone. I didn't like it as much as The Town or Argo. And I do have problems with this movie. But I was thoroughly entertained in this film.
Right. When you told me, like, the Rotten Tomatoes score on this thing, I was taken aback.
I looked that up after we saw the movie and was like, I really wanted to come into this movie fresh. I really, really did, beyond the trailers that I saw for it.
Right.
So afterwards, I was like, I'd heard some, like, mixed things about this from, like, Brian talking about, like, early screenings, but I was like, yeah, okay, well, I mean, I could still end up really liking the movie.
Right.
And there are problems with this movie. There really, really are. And it really, what it comes down to, in terms of the issues I have with it, is that, you know what? Some movies just need to be 3 hours long. And honestly, Ben Affleck, especially after Argo and the awards that movie got, Ben Affleck should be given faith to put out a 3-hour movie. Because I'm honestly positive that there is like a 3.5, maybe more hour version of this movie that's a fucking masterpiece that would probably be like the best movie he's made yet. And what this feels like to me is sort of like, you remember when there was a 2-hour cut of Once Upon a Time in America?
Oh, Jesus.
Now, granted, this isn't as bad as that, as like that cut of Once Upon a Time in America, or that like 2.5-hour cut of Heaven's Gate. This really does feel like it's a series of great scenes. Like, there's not a scene in this movie that's... Oh, really? We're going back to this again?
Jesus.
That shouldn't have happened.
Short fucking leash on that. Damn.
That's not happened yet in this car. That takes me back. Using Jillian's car again. Anyway, fuck, what was I saying?
A very good sequence of scenes.
Yeah, it's like there are great scenes in this movie. Like, not a scene wasted in this film. Every scene feels very important, but because this really feels like it's cut to 2 hours to fit in more screen time, it feels like it's a series of great scenes held together with Scotch tape. Yeah. Like, that there are parts that are just kind of missing and filled in with awkward narration.
Yeah, expositional jumps.
Yeah.
Consider, I mean, you're talking... The movie starts at 1917. That's a prologue. It doesn't actually start in 1917. It actually starts in 1927.
Uh-huh.
And it takes course over 11 years, because I think because it ends a little bit like they have a little there's a vignette, like one of the movie reels showing Hitler rising to power, which would have been the late 30s. So you're talking over a decade.
Yeah.
And it really does, like it narrates, and then 3 years later, and then it narrates, and all of a sudden it's another couple years, and there's no, I mean, the scenes that are there are really good, but you're missing some meat on that.
You really are, especially in the first act of this movie, because the first act of this movie feels like it's a hacked together race to the second act. It would be like if you took the first act of The Godfather and just chopped it to shit and raced it to the part where there's the assassination attempt on Vito Corleone. Like,
yeah, or even just where Michael takes over. Like, I don't even want to say that.
Or
like,
even to when he goes to, like, Sicily
yeah.
or something. Like, just a race to that. And because of that, the first act of this movie, it's like, I barely know who these people are. I really am having trouble kind of following the motivations of a lot of people. Like, okay, so these two were sleeping together. Okay, they're in love. Okay, am I supposed to be rooting for certain people in this? I'm not really sure. It's just racing me through this with exposition, and you can tell that this was cut, that this was chopped down.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's also, I mean, anytime you get something adapted from a novel,
yeah,
there's gonna be sacrifices to be made, but in this case, I have to think it was like a studio thing, because I don't think he would have intentionally left that out unless he was forced to. I don't think Ben Affleck, I think he would have probably liked to make a more bountiful movie. I don't know. That's, but a movie that has more into it than just boom, boom, boom. Okay, now we're down in Florida. Oh, now the movie can lengthen out a bit.
Exactly. And once it gets to that second act, I mean, it still feels like there's probably stuff that's missing, stuff that's cut out, stuff that could easily be fleshed out a lot more, but it's at least flowing a lot better once it gets to that point. And you can tell that there's a lot of stuff that's cut just to get this to about a 2-hour running time.
Right.
And this is a movie that it had like a limited December release with a wide January release. Obviously, they're trying to get it some award recognition. I don't know if it's going to get it, but because of that, like, wow, you really should have just let this be a 3-hour movie. Even if it's more than 3 hours, you really should have done that. Yeah. Because in making it like this, you're making what should be a masterpiece into what is probably going to end up theatrically being kind of a polarizing film. It might get some award notice, maybe in the technical aspects, because probably. It's a gorgeous film.
Costuming, design, production design, things of that nature, because they do well to get all that, but I don't know, maybe it was Affleck's decision. I find it hard to believe with what he's done in the past that would be such an oversight.
I know what you mean.
It'd be different if he had put out a whole bunch of stuff that was subpar, but his track record has been, it's been really good.
He's proved that he knows movies, he knows storytelling, he knows filmmaking. Right. And this movie, again, is gorgeous. Like, the cinematography alone is worth the ticket price. And even like we said, there are scenes that are great. Like the shootouts are fantastically done. Yeah. The dialogue is great. This has snappy dialogue. The back and forths with characters, the sudden bursts of violence after like kind of quick little funny asides with stuff like, are you sure that's a Southern thing or is it an asshole thing? Yeah. Lines like that. And there's like the sequence of when it gets to the second act and things are fleshed out more, there's great shit in this movie. Yeah. Like, I was always even in the first, when it gets past the first act, even in the first act, I'm like, okay, I do want to see where this is going, and I hope to God it slows down a little bit. And then when it does, I was always enthralled about where this movie was going next.
Yeah.
I was I was entertained. I was laughing. I was kept in suspense. There's the sequence where they fight against the Klan, and he goes into that Grand Wizard's office and just pops him in the head.
Yeah.
That sequence is great. Them going up against the religious woman who has practically started her own cult. That's enthralling. But again, it's like you're watching parts of what is probably a 4-star great film.
Yeah, vignettes from a much bigger movie is what it is.
Or if you condensed a season's worth of Boardwalk Empire into 2 hours. You know?
It's,
Kinda.
yeah. So, it's one of those movies where, there's a lot of films that drag with the expositional parts.
Mm-hmm.
This movie doesn't do that. Its 2-hour runtime it goes by pretty quick as far as, because you have so much action in it, you're not allowed to sit there and kind of take yourself back and contemplate what just happened.
I was never bored.
No,
I was never bored by this film.
It's not a boring film by any stretch of the imagination.
Ben Affleck is great too.
Yeah, he is, man. He knows his shit, and he loves Boston, man. He loves fucking Boston. I mean, for good reason, but still.
Mm-hmm. There are some great supporting characters in this film. The performance Elle Fanning gives is haunting. As this former heroin addict sort of cult leader, she is scary in some scenes.
And then that's another thing where it's not fleshed out. Like you see her once when Affleck's character gets to Tampa. You don't see her again until a plot point needs resolved. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you see her a couple more times, and that's it.
No, she is. Yeah, one big thing about this is they establish this character to be pretty important to the story, and she is.
Yeah.
Like, there's a section of this movie where she is hugely important to what's going on, and she definitely plays into the climax of it with what happens in the climax. But the way that she's written out is fast.
Right.
Really fast, and it feels like something was deleted. It feels like, I don't know if that's the case, but that's just what it feels like.
Right. Yeah, so whether it was an editing decision or something that was in the book, I again, with books, I feel like that character was probably fleshed out more.
Certainly.
Because, all you have is exposition. That's all you need with a book, all you get with a book. So you have to pull this stuff out more in order to get into the characters' heads, figure out their motivations. In the film, you don't have to do that as much, but this one does suffer from not including enough of that exposition where you can be like, okay, you like Affleck's character. Hey, phone!
Sorry. I can't turn it off because we got the camera resting on it now.
We've got it propped on that.
Yeah.
And a copy of Smokey and the Bandit and
Flashdance. We got Crocodile Dundee back there
How
somewhere.
fucking 80s and new age are we right now?
So right now, somebody watching this is like searching around like, oh shit, is my phone going off?
Right, what the hell's going on? It's one of those things where you like his character, but you never really... you're always kept at an arm's length.
Yeah.
You're never able to just, okay, I can fully get behind this guy. Mm-hmm. You like him because he's the protagonist of the movie.
And because he's Ben Affleck.
And, well, charismatic as fuck.
He's likable.
But it always seems like you never are able to get into his head as much. Mm-hmm. It's like he jumps from one thing to the next. And his motivations are shown to some extent, but not, what brings him to Tampa, that motivation, but then what keeps him there. Because the climax is what he wanted all along, but I feel like there are so many points in between that and when he first gets to Tampa that he could have resolved his issues and then gone on from it. It seems like it's all a little too neat.
Yeah.
Because it's what happens is there's a rival guy, because he's just a small time crook. He hits banks. Well, he falls for a girl that's in love with one of the local Boston bosses.
Which one flaw about this movie, real quick, one flaw about this, and this would even be existent in a 3-hour version of this movie, is, yeah, of course you're going to get caught sleeping with the boss's wife, because they are not subtle about that.
Oh, no.
He is taking her to the fanciest fucking restaurant, like...
In public? Of course somebody's going to see you.
Yeah, that was something that kind of stuck out to me. But yeah,
he admitted, like in the narration, that it was dumb. But that they were in love. Well, so she sells him out, and he gets his ass beat.
Mm-hmm. He almost gets killed.
He does almost get killed. His dad, who's a cop, saves his ass, but then he gets thrown in jail for the crime he'd committed earlier in the day. So, and then that's where another jump cut. So you get there 3 years later.
Yeah.
And
that's all in the first act. That's all in the first act. Yeah. And you're right, because you're like, okay, I do know the motivation of this guy wanting revenge and everything, but you've raced to this plot point, so it's like, I know what his motivation is because you've at least kept that in, but I don't know much about this guy, so, I mean, yeah, when the movie actually slows down, you grow to like him a bit more, but man, does it fucking race to this point of the movie.
The characters just jump in and jump out. Like you said, Elle Fanning's character jumps in, jumps out. The Boston boss jumps in and jumps out. It seems like it's only when it's appropriate.
Well, it makes it feel very episodic in that sense. Like if this were a show, we would have an episode devoted to the Klan. We would have an episode devoted to Elle Fanning.
Exactly.
And then the finale would be what it is in this movie. And you're right about that, because of the pace that this movie is given. His girlfriend, who's the Affleck's girlfriend in the movie.
It is, God damn it, Gamora.
Zoe Saldana.
Zoe Saldana.
When she first popped up, I was like, is that Zoe Saldana or is that Tandy Newton?
Tandy. I don't care, either one.
Just
come to daddy. No.
I need to. Can you hold this for just a second?
Woo!
I need to.
It's like Indiana Jones,
he's gonna
man.
Call me back again.
Oh God, it's shaky cam. I'm so sorry.
Sorry. I have to send this message, or else the phone is gonna ring again.
Well, here, we'll just do that, and then I'll just.
We'll just lean down. Okay.
What a crick in the neck.
Good.
All right.
Bam.
Maybe.
Oh, for the love of fucking God.
Technical difficulties. Hey, look at that.
Hey, I can see. Thanks, you brought me back. Okay, so anyway, she drifts in and out of this movie, and the resolution of that is what you see in most movies like this. There's a thing that happens here between Affleck and her that you've seen. All right, look, we're gonna get into some spoilers here, but you've seen this in
Godfather
3, Godfather Part 3, Scarface, honestly, even Heaven's Gate to an extent. You see this kind of plot point, and it all. This is a massive spoiler, but like it all comes down to like Chris Cooper going crazy, going around looking for someone to shoot, and Kevin Spacey's nowhere nearby.
Oh no! Too soon. It's only been close to 20 years, but too soon. Oh shit!
And so that's a little predictable in that sense, but you know what? The positives of this movie are still there. Like we've said, it's never boring. It's fantastically made. I had to use the restroom at one point in this movie, and I hated having to do that because there are such important things in every scene for this film. Yeah. And it's a fantastically entertaining movie that I hated getting up to leave.
Yeah, because you leave and then the Klan shows up. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
When the fuck did these guys show up?
You know what? At least I didn't walk out on Anthony Michael Hall, who's in this movie. He should get more work. That dude is a chameleon of a fucking actor.
He probably he's like, you know what? I'll do what I want. He's living off John Hughes money is what he's doing.
He is.
He hasn't needed to do a goddamn thing. He's like, all right, I feel like doing something this year. What do we got? Okay, let's do that.
But you know what? Whenever he is in something, damn, he's great. Like, he steals his scene in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Dude's got some fucking chops on him.
Well, he should after, what, 30 fucking years of acting? I would hope that he would picked up a few things here and there along the way.
He walks away with his scene in this fucking movie, man. A lot of those actors from then do. I love it when I see Andrew McCarthy pop up and stuff.
Yeah, what the fuck does he do lately?
That show, and this is the only reason I watched this show. He did that show with Joan Allen at The Family.
Okay.
I sat there and watched it. Show was dumb as shit, but yeah, I wanted to see Andrew McCarthy play creepy neighbor pedophile. He's the best part of that show.
It'd have been even better if he had like a statue of Kim Cattrall or something in the.
Yeah.
Be like, here's my wife.
Oh man, he screwed up. He got the Christy Swanson one.
Oh no! Wrong one. Roll it back. Oh shit.
But you know what? There's a lot of movies where things like this happen to, and I say like, okay, take the 2-hour cut of Once Upon a Time in America, for instance, which is from beginning to end an ungodly mess. This movie has the same problems as that, but it works better than that shorter cut did of Once Upon a Time in America. I can still recommend this as like as a matinee. Man, if they put out like a 3+ hour cut of this movie, I'd be like, this is one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah, the stuff to fill in the blanks. Not necessarily that you don't need them to fill in the blanks, because you can follow the story. The problem is that you don't need these scenes to follow the story. The story is coherent, but it feels incomplete. It feels like, okay, I understand this, but why don't we go into that a little bit more? Let's dial back, on the racing. Let's lengthen this out a little bit. Let's get some motivation, a deeper sense of this motivation.
And in cutting this down, motherfuckers ruined Affleck's critical streak. This sons of bitches.
I'm sure it'll come back with the Batman. If the Batman ever gets made.
If he still stays on as director of that.
Please do. We need something.
Yeah. I hope he fucking does. His reasoning for, I read something about this where he was like, they want me to deliver it by a certain date, and I don't think I can. So like he's like, I'll still play Batman, but
yeah,
I have standards, motherfucker.
He's like, I want to make this film good. I don't want to make a cheap piece of shit film. So I hope that Justice League does well enough to where they're just like, okay, get what you need to get done, get it out there, take your time, because I want dual comic. I want a DC Marvel thing, because when one is good and another is good, the competition there just makes everything better. It's like everything else in this world. Competition makes things better. When you see someone make, right now Marvel's just like, well, all your movies are bombing, so we can, they're becoming derivative. They're really they're not bad, but there hasn't really been a changing of the formula as of yet with Marvel movies. When you go into Doctor Strange, you know what you're gonna get. And
I like that movie, but let's admit that movie's formulaic as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Like, look, I didn't like Batman v Superman, but you know what? I will say, quality of that movie aside, I will say it was non-formulaic. Like, that's very true.
Yeah,
like
they went out there with it.
Yeah, it took a chance in that regard. To me, it didn't succeed, but I'll at least say that. But right there is an example of, like, you can have a movie that's formulaic as fuck and a movie that's not, but the movie that follows the formula almost to a fault will still turn out to be a decent movie, which Doctor Strange did. And you have Batman v Superman, not formulaic at all, but is a goddamn mess.
Yeah. So I'm kind of hopeful for Spider-Man: Homecoming now, though, because it seems like they're not doing the origin story. Finally,
Thank God.
finally,
Jesus Christ.
We know. Just get into Holland, which he sold me in Civil War. Fuck my God. I'm gonna get shit for this, but I like Tobey Maguire in the first two. The third got a little off track. But the first two movies, I really liked him. I liked Tobey Maguire's acting. I like Garfield's wit.
Garfield had the better wit.
Yeah,
by
easily.
far.
I feel like this is an amalgamation of both of them, and I think we're going to have the best Spider-Man yet.
Yeah, I think so.
And he's the youngest, which... That to me was a good, like, they don't have a 25 or 28-year-old doing it. They have a guy they have a younger guy. And he acts like it because he's still in that age where he knows what's that like. And I can't talk anymore. But
And just his scene from Civil War, he was my favorite Spider-Man. In the movie
easily.
Spider-Man.
And god damn you, again, with the fucking, Marissa Tomei as Ant-Man. You give me such a weird boner. Because I'm just thinking of Ant-Man, thinking old Ant-Man, and then I see Marissa Tomei, and I'm just like, fuck. Dude, no. I'm so conflicted right now.
Not me. I accept my fetishes. What do I have left to lose?
Octogenarians need love too, baby.
I want that on my gravestone.
But anyway,
Apparently that's how I die. But I gotta head in and see Patriots Day.
right.
Anyway, final thought about this. You know what? There's enough good about this movie that I would recommend it as a matinee.
Easily. It's not a complete film, but it's not a terrible film either. And it's underrepresented in the reviews, I really think. And I'm sure probably some of the reviews probably have the same complaints.
I bet they do, honestly.
I just think they're looking at the faults without looking at the whole picture. And sometimes when you watch movies like this and review them, sometimes you do. Sometimes you get a little too critical and you don't look at the film as a whole. And I feel like probably some of the reviews out there are doing that. And
I've been guilty of the same thing.
Yeah, I know. Everybody
we
has.
all are.
Oh, yeah. But I think it does this film a disservice. Just sit back and watch and enjoy. And if you do that, if you do that, you're going to have a good time. If you go in trying to pick apart, okay, why is this not expanded upon? Then you're going to start to see cracks, and the movie will still be good, but not as good if you just kind of sit back and just watch.
And still keep an eye on the positive things about it. But yeah, so tomorrow, I got Patriots Day in a bit, and tomorrow is Bye Bye Man and Monster Trucks.
Oh, Jesus.
See ya.